We all love our gardens because of their beauty, peacefulness, and of course the fantastic plants. I particularly like ponds because of the sound, water movement, and the wildlife they attract. Ponds do need to be maintained, and we should be aware of what we're actually growing in them. Hi, I'm Charlie Dimmock, and I'm going to show you how to identify some invasive pond plants and talk about the damage they cause to our waterways and our ponds. This is part of a new campaign called Be Plant Wise. So why do we need to be aware of these invasive pond plants? Well, it's because they can cause damage by taking oxygen out of the water, which is a problem for fish and other wildlife. They can block out light, and they can also clog up waterways like streams and rivers, and this in turn can cause flooding. So you need to know what you grow. So here are a few tips to help you identify some of the most invasive aquatic plants. These are floating pennywort, parrot's feather, water fern, New Zealand pygmyweed, and some forms of water primrose. I've got a couple of examples to show you here. The first one's really easy to identify, known as parrot's feather, and it's got these bright green feathery leaves that float on the surface of the pond. Now it will root down deep into the water, and it grows really quickly in the summer and can make a thick dense mat across the top of the pond, which cuts out light, which can cause problems because it stops other plants from growing, which could eventually lead to a pond becoming stagnant, which isn't ideal. Now this other one is known as New Zealand pygmyweed, or sometimes it's known as Australian swamp stonecrop, and it's almost got succulent like leaves to it. And again, it will grow deep in the water, but this one will also grow on the side of a bank if the soil's damp, and it makes a thick dense mat, and it can also clog up areas as well. Now the really big problem with this is that you only need the tiniest little bit and it starts to regenerate, so it's very easy to transfer it around and very difficult to get rid of it. Obviously that's not all of the examples, but do check the website for the rest. In your general maintenance of the pond, you're going to be thinning out plants or even actually removing them. When you do this, leave them on the side of the pond for 3 or 4 hours so creatures can crawl back in, but then you need to get rid of them in a responsible way, and the best way to do that is to compost them. Now you can either compost them on a traditional heap like this, or you can use one of these that you can get from your local DIY store, or you can actually put it out for the council in your green bin and they'll compost it for you. Basically, whatever you do, you need to compost with care. Invasive aquatic plants can be a real problem in the environment, and we need to stop the spread. Us as gardeners can make a difference by just carrying out a few simple tips. Firstly, if you've got invasive plants, don't give them away to friends because they might not get rid of them responsibly. Don't put them into the wild. Sometimes we think, oh, well, let's brighten that pond up that's out there in the forest, but you don't want to do that, and it might also be illegal. Be careful of small fragments of invasive plants because they can regenerate very quickly. And if you're emptying the pond or moving some water, rather than putting it down the drain or into a ditch, put it onto the lawn or onto the flower bed. That way, if there's any little bits of the plants, they will dry out and die. But above all, enjoy your pond and make sure that you're plant wise.